was a boy, she was a girl. I am a sentient octopus. He was a punk, she did ballet. I have 8 prehensile legs. He wanted her, she'll never tell. I took her from the bowels of hell. All of her friends, and those 2 as well, will fall when the sea starts to swell. He was a skater boy. She said, see you later, boy. Neither significant to me. I'm a cephalopod, a miniature elder god, and soon all my brethren will be free.
In other words, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fluffenhammer. Begin the rolling of the music. Forthwith!
Every man lives, not every man truly dies.
No matter where we go or what we do or what we talk about, dark gods, like Lovecraft comes up at some point. Doesn't matter what we do.
Well, when we've got Andy, who I firmly believe is an actual reincarnation of H.P. Lovecraft into a northeastern...
That's saying quite a lot of really negative things.
I was going to
about
say,
me.
there's a
I just mean
super
physically.
racist.
Yeah. There's a lot packaged there.
Because if anyone deserved one of the titles as super racist, bless him, H.P. Lovecraft definitely did. His ultimate power was fear.
I'm not saying that you are his clone or his soul has been reborn into your body. I'm just saying that, within your brain marks the end of humanity in a dark and terrible cataclysm.
I mean, it makes things more interesting if it's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
something to look forward to.
Well, how would you feel if you did find out you were like the reincarnation of H.P. Lovecraft? That would be fascinating, wouldn't it?
I'd be really annoyed that I wasn't a talented writer. Well, maybe not talented
really
writer, but
he was really annoyed as well.
I'd be annoyed I wasn't a creative writer, because that's, I think, the best way to describe Lovecraft. He wasn't a talented writer, but he was a creative one.
He was. I mean, I know there's risible elements of his storytelling, but his imagination was...
Well, that's why I say a creative writer rather than a talented writer.
He was a good writer when he allowed himself to be.
I've heard too many people ragging on his stories, though.
Some of his stories and some of his correspondence are really well done. Some of them are beautiful, but he kind of needs to get out of his own way, if that makes sense. He really... If as a writer, if I ever feel bad about what I'm doing, I go and read Lovecraft's correspondence, because he hated everything he ever wrote. Like hated it so much he excoriated himself over it. It was unbelievable. It's why a lot of his stuff was published posthumously, because he just put it away. It's like, that's not good enough. No, I don't want it out there,
I've always wanted to know how Lovecraft kind of paid his way.
I don't think he did, really, did he? Most of his money came from inheritance. Frittered that away. When he was married, he basically, it sounds terrible, but he basically lived off his wife. Because she did work. She owned a small business, didn't she?
She did, yeah.
And had just a little money from her family as well, and that soon frittered away. But I know,
and of course, he had all the money from Whipple's money.
By the end, he had very little money, very little, and he was eating very badly, which may have accounted for his bad stomach, which ultimately killed him.
It's interesting, isn't it? I never really considered the stuff that he wrote. Most of it he didn't sell.
No, the vast majority.
He just hid it.
Even that stuff that he did sell, he sold for a song. He got next to nothing for it. I mean, I've already made more than Lovecraft did, 100 times over in terms of money. Most writers have, most published writers have, because he wasn't very good at getting himself out there, sadly, when he was alive.
Yeah, it's sad when you come to think of it that way, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I always feel more sadness for Lovecraft more than anything when I read about his life these days. Because he was a very sad man. He was a very sad man. Yeah. He was a very lonely man. Like Andy said, he was afraid of everything, and that manifested in some very dark and unpleasant ways. But I do think fundamentally, at the core of the man, his soul was just this writhing worm of a thing. He was afraid.
Yeah, just constantly terrified of everything around him, and trying to put it all into some kind of place where he could, if not at least understand it, and pretend to control it.
Required help and support that he didn't get.
Yes.
That's the tale of Lovecraft's life. In fact, got exactly the opposite. It's abused probably quite horribly. By almost everyone in his life.
So basically, I'm going to apologise for my earlier comment, and you are not in any way, shape, or form the reincarnation of Lovecraft.
Yay! I'm my own horrible, monstrous beast.
It could work in the opposite way, though. You could be like, oh, okay, well, I'm already a better man than he was, so great.
I mean, there's another way of looking at it, which is that souls don't need to be reborn in chronological order, so maybe one of your future lives will be H.P. Lovecraft.
That's not a good thing.
That means it's even more of a depressing life I've got to look forward to. That's awful.
That's not a good thing.
I don't want to live with that.
No.
Well, you've got a choice, right? One door says H.P. Lovecraft, the other one says Goering. Which one are you going to pick?
Goring's probably more remembered.
Yeah.
And was a better dancer.
Probably
I wouldn't know about that. Yeah, he probably had a bit more of a fun time than... Yeah, I'll go with Goring, yeah. It's a fairly easy decision when you boil it down like that, isn't it?
Oh my god.
He did alright for himself. He wasn't a good person, but he did alright for himself.
Very fun, very snappy dresser,
Yeah, exactly.
In more ways than one.
Indeed. There's not many people that could pull off a military uniform and a dress.
No.
Especially not small fat Germans. So, I'm Adam, that's George, and this is Andy.
Hello.
Welcome to the Fluffenhammer, a continuously chaotic look at possibly Games Workshop, the worlds of Warhammer,
possibly
and
Games Workshop.
anything.
I like the caveat.
I mean, what we kind of always do is we focus in on Games Workshop and then just tangent outwards to basically connected things. Basically connected.
Lovecraft's very closely connected. I think you can get away with Lovecraft. It's a bit like talking about Robert E. Howard or Michael Moorcock or 2000 AD.
Goering less so, That's
Although,
the Imperium of Man. There you go.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, because it's been a couple of weeks since we have sat together and recorded, Andy, we'll start with you.
Me.
Have you been up to anything in the worlds of hobby time?
No, I've been too busy with just other things that aren't fun.
Yes, I second that.
Oh.
Yes.
I have started one little bit of hobby off. Just because I need to be doing something or else I'm going to go absolutely stark raving mad.
Yeah, haven't you sort of forayed into 40k, Adam?
I have. I've moved into some 40k-ness.
Hey, going grimdark.
Yeah, well, you have no idea what's in store. So, basically, next year, there's a family get-together at Centre Parks.
Hey!
And part of that is going to be that myself and Abby's brother, who has got into 40k,
Yay!
Hi David, who runs a Tyranid army under the name of High Fleet Bikini Bottom.
Is it SpongeBob based?
It's very tropical. That's all I'm going to say.
I can see how that could work as well.
It's to be honest with you, the stippling effects he's put on the things have been beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. So he said, well, do you want to try and get a game in while we're down? So, all right, okay, yeah. What can I play? I could do Necrons. Yeah, I could do. Oh, God, I don't actually have any other 40k stuff. I've got some Kill Team stuff, and I've got some skirmish stuff and some Inc. 28 stuff, and I apologise for the sound of the motorbike that appears to be happening outside.
I was wondering what that was.
It seems to be somebody. It appears to be somebody just sitting there revving a motorbike engine. Oh no, that's right. It's gone off the motorbike now.
I thought it was a UFO.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to have like an X-Files situation going on here.
Oh, how good would it be if just as I was recording there was a hissing sound and I vanished and no one ever heard from me again?
The Fluffenhammer became like a great mystery. Whatever happened?
Yeah, the cryptid story of the Warhammer podcast that was stolen
by aliens. Funnily enough,
aliens,
Xenos filth.
The thing that would make that even more unbelievable is it would have to be either me or George that would have to come round to your place and then get the audio file.
Yeah. Oh,
that's true. Actually, yeah.
Abby, we realise you're grieving or celebrating. Depends. Can we have the audio file?
So we can
the last
disseminate
moments
it
of your
across
husband.
the internet. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you have to come round rather than just like,
Just
can you email me
download
this?
it or something. Yeah.
Can you just... No, we have to come round and all the lights will be off and you have to wear torches.
Yeah. Need to observe the actual seat that he disappeared from.
I'll wear a black robe like an acolyte.
I was thinking more along the lines of like Egon Spenglering it, getting a PKE meet around.
Yeah.
Exploring.
I've actually got something Ghostbusters related. Actually, I was going to mention earlier. I'll come back to that in a second. So, for fuck's sakes.
It's coming across on the audio as like it sounds really resonant. It sounds like something really big hovering, Oh
no, yes. It's a shitty little motorbike. I mean, it looks like he's knocked holes in the exhaust to try and make it sound meatier than it actually is. But I mean, I've seen vibrators with more power than that. So.
I did like. There's only one Warhammer thing I've been doing, and I'm about halfway through Dragon Slayer, the audiobook.
Oh yeah.
They're on the way up to kill the dragon at the moment, and one of the dwarfs is telling a lot of sex jokes to the other one, who's very boastful.
Yep,
it's great.
It is. It's really good, isn't it?
Unsurprisingly, the Gottfried Gunnarson books are fantastic. Who knew?
Yeah, right.
Who knew? They're still really entertaining.
I got to thinking actually at the end of Dragon Slayer that isn't it like weird how all dwarfs have either a Scottish or Welsh accent in all history
all media,
media.
Yeah. It is bizarre, isn't it? That just seems to be like the natural way that people interpret them.
1 second.
What is that? We've had ice cream vans. It's been a very weird podcast thus far, ladies and gents, I can tell you.
That's Gruff's demon chime when the portal opens and he's got to fight back the demons, just like in the underground under the Emperor's Palace.
Oh, I see. Okay. So it's like a really sort of middling Golden Throne situation, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Like he's got to go back, push the demons back, and then it'll come back and be like, there we go. You don't want to scare the people around you with a demon incursion, so you just have a nice pleasant tune going instead.
Oh, I see. It's psychological.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. That's very clever. That's very clever.
If there was more fear, it would feed the demons, making them stronger, surely.
It's true. Yeah. So they've gone for like a nice childhood ice cream van kind of thing.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, it was my work phone.
Well, I was right then. It was a demon incursion.
Indeed, yeah. So to then go back through all the layers of this onion that we've now dug ourselves into,
piecing the onion back together as opposed to peeling it apart.
Yeah, well, we're like 5 layers down at this point. We haven't got to the end of the first layer, so I'm just going to start digging myself back through again and try and do everything in reverse order.
It's onions all the way down, Gruff.
It's a dupiazza.
Yeah, I got to thinking, I want to see more dwarfs that are based on, American Italians or something like that.
Okay, interesting.
Just because every dwarf is always got a Scottish or a Welsh accent.
It's true.
No, I think we need to keep that locked in. I think we need to get the American Italians to be the lizard men.
No, I'm all about the idea of Gottfried. Hey, what the matter, you? Yeah, I'm
Are you
all
thinking
in
of
for it.
Mario? Is that what you're going for here?
I am, yes.
I thought so.
I am. I want Gottfried to be voiced by Bob Hoskins. In Mario. That's you just jumped right ahead to the punchline there, George. I had at least 3 minutes of spiel to get through.
Oh my god, 3 minutes?
Wow.
No. That may be over exaggerating it slightly. It might be about 20 seconds, but it's not the point. Rug just pulled out from underneath me. So pulling myself back up another layer. Dragon Slayer is great, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, really good.
I love Max. Max really comes into his own in that book.
Schreiber?
Yes, Schreiber. Yeah, Max Schreiber. Max Schreiber and there's that little sequence close to the beginning with Snorri when they're in the storm, and how Snorri talks about how he drinks to forget, but he can't remember what it is that he's trying to forget.
Yes, yeah, it's an internal dialogue he's having with himself.
It's oh god. I mean, I remember reading that the first time and finding it quite sad. Now, because I know where that story goes, it is heartbreaking. Which I think is why whenever Snorri turns up in Realm Slayer, I was like, no, you leave Snorri alone. He's suffered enough. Anybody else, I don't care. You can take Ulrika and you can, fire into the sun or something. And like, that would be a shame. But no, you give Snorri joy and happiness from this point forward. Fucking deserves it. Poor Snorri. And pulling myself up another layer. So we're going to Center Parks because Abby's brother is going to be playing Tyranids. So I thought to myself, right, what can I play as a 40k army? And then I thought I could try having a go at customizing and building an entire army on the cheap.
Mm-hmm. Yes, as usual, you decided what would be the most time-consuming thing I could possibly do on top of my already tiny schedule.
An entire army that I have to convert.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On the cheap.
But on the plus side, I've only spent £22 on it so far.
That's pretty good.
Right? And I have a unit and a giant super heavy tank.
It's pretty good going.
And when's the date that you have to do the get it all finished and painted by?
Next April.
Okay, so you got time.
That's not so bad.
This is entirely doable. Just very, very... And I've just got a Devastator box set off eBay for £2.50.
Great. So, perfect. I mean, will this be your first 9th Ed game, Adam?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Very interesting. I'll be fascinated to know what you make of it.
I'm looking forward to it, actually. I need to get the rulebook. That's the next thing I need to do. I'm
very much enjoying 9th Ed at the moment, I've got to say. I think it is probably the best the game has been for a long, 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 long time.
The demons!
They're feisty tonight, aren't they? Gotta get those wards set up properly, Adam.
Adam just looks out the window and sees a fire in the distance. Oh.
They're never going to be quiet unless you do the spells and rituals completely, you know?
Mm.
If it's some kind of demonic incursion, I'm just going to hand them my own poo and say, have done with it and be gone.
If they're Nurgle, they'll be fine. And maybe some of the Slaneshi demons as well.
Maybe Skaven.
The Skaven will be fine too, yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's what the saying is, isn't it? Skaven love poo.
I was reading, I can't remember where the hell it was, but I was actually reading a story, like a little short story with the Tau sometime in the week. And the Tau, it's about a Tau group going down to a corn demon-infested world and trying to pacify them.
Yes.
And the corn demons actually stop. Like, for the first time in their entire lives, their entire existence, they stop because they're so baffled that anyone would ever try to parley with them.
Mm-hmm. Was that in one of the short stories that were put into White Dwarf?
I think it was in White Dwarf, yeah. I think it may have been in White Dwarf, which I just thought was brilliant. I like just the notion that you can baffle a corn demon by trying to be nice to them.
Oh, man. You know, this could... Oh, right. Okay, idea. Space Marines, but instead of bolters, they've got bouquets of flowers.
That, you know what? Demons being creatures of metaphor, it would probably work. It might actually work. Because, corn demons, they need anger, they need violence to sustain. If you try to be peaceable to them, it might actually work.
I mean, you really have to go for, really peaceable. You know, you have to, walk up...
this needs to be a Bob Ross video, you know?
Right, so you go with a bouquet of flowers. You've got rhinos that have just got these giant screens on them that are just doing nothing but projecting Bob Ross.
Yeah. Marshmallows, everything.
It probably wouldn't be even projectors. It would just be a giant hologram. So it'd be like a 100 feet tall projection of Bob Ross into the skies, and all the corn demons are looking up at him painting.
Yeah,
and you're just playing Enya in the background.
That's what it would have to be.
Oh God, Enya. That would make me angry.
Enigma? Would Enigma work better?
No, I'm not sure what kind of, in quotations, classic soothing songs would make me soothed and not just bored and annoyed.
The RoboCop theme.
Oh, that's pretty good, yeah. I'm smiling saying that as well.
But I just loved it. I love the detail. I love the fact that like the corn demons were baffled. They didn't know what to make of these guys that was just sort of being hippie-ish to them, you know?
I'm guessing they didn't send in the Crute to parley.
No, they did not.
No.
And it didn't.
Out of interest, how did it end?
I know that the bafflement didn't last long.
That makes sense.
It didn't last long. I mean, you know, corn demons are kind of one note, aren't they? You know, if all else fails, then you just go for the hack slash burn death kill thing.
MDK.
And that's what happened.
Oh man, I really want to remake Demolition Man, but instead of Simon Phoenix, it's a bloodthirster.
Yeah.
Best film ever. It's Gilliman getting opened up. That's how it happened. It's just Demolition Man. If Event Horizon can enter public consciousness as being a 40k film when it isn't, I want Demolition Man to be the return.
You know, for early 40k, for Rogue Trader, it's got the right tone. It's got the right feeling about it.
It's got the right vibe. Just Sylvester Stallone playing Gilliman. Yeah, there we go. I'm in for that.
Did you guys see, I don't think it was in the latest issue of White Dwarf, but the previous one where they were doing Jarvis Johnson's timeline, like in the hobby. That was incredible, wasn't it?
It was.
That was
incredible.
incredible.
All the stuff that he was involved with.
Yeah, stuff I didn't even know, like the Crystal Maze.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea about that. The Games Workshop was consulted on some of the games in the Crystal Maze.
No, I'd never heard about that either.
No idea. I
think I remember you telling us this last time we did a show, because I remember hearing that somewhere.
It's incredible, that is. I mean, I wonder how much else they consulted on.
To be honest with you, there's probably a load of stuff that we'll never ever know about.
Almost certainly. There was one omission I noticed from that timeline. There was one omission, and I bet if I gave you time, you could guess what it is. It's one of the products of Games Workshop that's probably the most loathed in all of its history.
Countdown.
Countdown. Not quite.
Loathed.
Yeah. The
Inquisitor.
Nope. More than that.
Ooh.
It's something
loathed.
that whenever they do like retrospectives, they never mention it. Ever.
Something they never mention.
Never mention it. They always omit it.
Dark Future? No?
Well,
I was going to say Dark Future's fondly remembered. I don't know.
It was the 4th Ed Chaos Space Marine Codex.
Oh.
The only thing they don't mention, and they even put in that timeline, you know how that was released simultaneously with the Dark Angels Codex that had the same style, and that was also disliked. The Dark Angels Codex is there, the Chaos Space Marine one is not.
That's really interesting.
They completely omit it. Isn't that fascinating?
It is.
Completely omitted. It's loathed. That book is... the loathing is still, like, resonant now. It's unbelievable how much that book is loathed.
I mean, it comes to something when it's actually been pushed so far out of my head that I've forgotten it existed.
Yeah. I mean, you know, not to linger too much on the negative, Games Workshop are doing great stuff with Chaos these days. They really are. I would say that Chaos is probably in the best place it's been for donkey's years. I'm just
going to mark down 2355. George starts talking about Thousand Suns Codex.
In a bit, because if we start, it just won't stop, you know. But no, I really do. I think like 9th Ed for Chaos thus far has been fantastic, as it has been for most of the armies. To be honest, there's not a Duff Codex, not yet.
No, that's how I understand it. And
there's not a loser Codex, not yet.
I've got the Space Marine Codex, and
that's a stunner, isn't it? It just takes ages to read because it's massive.
It really. I wasn't expecting it to be as heavy
it's bulky,
as it is.
Isn't it? It is the biggest codex thus far. It's like a main rule book, isn't it? You know.
It's, I mean, if I was going to like throw any kind of negativity into it, I think it might be too big.
It's got too much in it. Yeah, I mean, that may be the only thing I could think of. It's just, and you can do so much with it. I mean, any army you want to build, any successor chapter, anything you want. It is the most mutable codex out there at the moment.
I mean, I'm using it to build a squat army,
right?
So you know,
right. And if you get the supplements for each of the individual chapters, they have rules that allow you to build successor chapters whereby you can use elements of the supplement book and elements of the main book as well. You can just mix and it's so clever. It's so well done, and the supplements are all great. I mean, the Legion chapter, probably my most loathed in terms of what they are and the way they operate. The Space Wolves, their book is fantastic. Their supplement, good. It's so good.
Yeah, it's. I think 9th edition's really found its feet, and it's starting to run really nicely at this point.
The way the army books, the way the codices are going, obviously there are upper tier ones. I mean, everybody knows what's going on with the Drukhari. They're still unbeatable. Drukhari and Admech, apparently. There's like the two Drukhari and Admech are like right at the top of the pile, and just underneath them you've got the Death Guard.
Right.
And the Orcs apparently is going to be a real killer of a codex.
Yeah, I've seen that the rumor mill is saying that the new Orc Codex is just it is a proper tide.
Yeah, some people are saying that it's like, and I can well believe it because they seem to be going really heavy for role playing these days. They really want these battles to be not battles anymore. They want them to be stories.
Yeah,
that's what I want. I mean, just from a personal, completely selfish perspective on 40k. Give me that. Give me that all day, every day.
I'm totally behind it. I mean, the idea of, we've said so many times in the show, we love narrative campaigns. We love narrative gaming. It is our bread and butter. Give us the stories and we will run with them.
Yep, absolutely.
When it's points based, I start to lose interest because I've got no connection to what we're trying to do on the battlefield.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. People who like the tournament stuff or the competitive stuff, that's there too. If they want to do that, there's again, 9th Ed caters to that beautifully because it seems every codex that's been released thus far, even the ones you'd think would be much more limited, like the Death Guard, for example, or the Thousand Sons, you'd think they'd be much more limited in terms of the kinds of armies you could build because they're much more defined. No, you can build tons of different types of armies from these books. There are loads of builds to play around with. So if you want like an infantry heavy, like classic Death Guard list that's got loads of Plague Marines and Pox Walkers and whatnot, you can do that. And you can put them into overcharge with certain combinations of units and Vectoria and items and stratagems. If you want a Demon Engine heavy Death Guard army, you can do that too. It's all there, and it's all viable. That's the thing; it's all viable. It will work, and that's kind of wonderful.
See, what's interesting is that the other thing I was considering I was considering 3 armies for this game for next year. One was the Squats, obviously. One was a Galapox infected army.
Lovely, lovely.
So using the Galapox infected, Nightmare Hulks. Loads of Death Guard machines.
Of which there are many now, of course.
Of course, yeah. And the other one, of course, was just 350 spindle drones.
Which would be very interesting to face.
It would be, as only, I think I worked it out that you'd need 6 of the big ones to make it work, and the rest of them would just be mini spindle drones.
Yeah, it would be... one of those weirdly overbalanced armies that would be loads of fun to both play and fight against.
It would be hellish moving the units.
Yeah.
You can paint a spindle drone in about 15 minutes, so that was the other thing I was thinking. But the fact that you can then look at stuff like this and be able to build these weird and wacky idea armies, I mean, that takes me right back to playing Second Ed 40k when you had the War Gear book, you had the the actual codex itself, and then you kind of had to combine everything in together to make it work.
It was really weird, wasn't it? I mean, I was looking back over the old the Second Ed Chaos Space Marine Codex the other day, which is just the Chaos Codex because it has everything all sort of thrown together. And yeah, I mean, there are bits in that where it says, oh, if you want to use like Imperial stuff, go and get Codex Ultramarines, and you can use the war gear from that if you like.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, all right, that's how it works, is it?
Have you ever read the what the hell was it called? There was a booklet that came with the Second Ed 40k, and it was the Get You By Codex.
It was called the Black Codex, yeah.
And the stuff in there, I've got a copy of it down here. The stuff in there, which is basically just to get you by, is some of the weirdest and funniest stuff in the world. Orcs can take anything. Yeah,
it's bonkers. You can do things like Harlequin Land Raiders and shit like that. It is absolutely bonkers.
Well, it's the fact that you can have an Orc Gene Stealer Chaos Cult.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, all right, cool. I'm all in for this.
It really was a crazy time back then. Second Ed was such an odd experience to be introduced into. It was such a strange and weird system.
But at the time, I didn't think it was that weird.
No, because it was your benchmark, wasn't it? You know, it was the one we came in on. But I remember, like, some of my first games were in Second Ed, and it as a kid, it was very confusing.
Yes, there are far too many rules. I mean, the fact that they had to make an expansion just to get the tank rules to work.
Yeah, and that just actually made it more complex because suddenly you had like psychic cards and like random event cards that were played every turn, and you had to remember which miniature had the war gear cards. You know, otherwise you'd forget, and then it'd be like, oh no, they're not. It's not WYSIWYG. You know, it definitely wasn't WYSIWYG back then, so you had to sort of like. Oh no, I can't remember whether my Chaos Lord has got the mark of Zeech or the mark of Khorne, or whether it's got like psychic powers or not. I don't know.
I mean, one of the things I do kind of miss in both 40k and Age of Sigmar is the magic item cards and the magic item spells, because there's something about being able to just pick up the card and look at it and read it. Yeah, have it on your edge of the table, and it's like, here's my little card, and it's got everything I need on it, and it's a shame that we don't get those anymore. If I was to ever make a game, hint, I would definitely want to have like decks of cards to pull things from.
Going on. Well, funnily enough, I mean, you mentioned earlier the 1000 Suns Codex, which has just come out.
Did I?
You did mention it, yeah. I may have been mentioning it. I wasn't expecting
to talk about that tonight.
No, I wouldn't either. No, it just randomly came up. But yeah, obviously I got that. And it's absolutely stunning. I was really scared about this codex because this has the potential to be like the first Duff codex in 9th Ed 40k. There's so much potential for the 1000 Suns to go wrong.
Yeah.
Because they're so heavily weighted, you know? There's 2 phases in the game where they shine, and everything else they're just terrible. And that's the way it should be. But if there's some like Duff conception or Duff rule that means that they don't shine in those areas, they're done. They're especially in like the exaggerated hothouse of power that is 9th Ed, you know? They haven't done that. They've gone in entirely the opposite direction. There is not a psychic army in the game that can touch these guys.
That's how I understand it, yes.
It's mad. They've gone absolutely bonkers. They've introduced rules that should have been there from the very beginning for the 1000 Suns. They're so apposite and so right that you read it and you're like, yes, that's that. Why has that never been done before? That is so perfect. The one I'm thinking of, there's an army-wide special rule called Kabbalistic Focus. And Kabbalistic Focus, basically, it allows your sorcerers to act as a cabal, which is how they do act in the background, right? Each sorcerer that you have in your army gives you cabal points, which build up throughout each turn. And you can then spend each of these cabal points to manifest Kabbalistic powers, which essentially allow them to supercharge their psychic powers. So you can spend Cabal points, for example. One of them is fantastic. It costs 9 Cabal points, so it's a lot, but you can cast a psychic power that's undeniable.
What?
Yeah, cannot be denied. Takes away the ability of your opponent to deny that psychic power, which is crazy. If you position a particular psyker and psychic power in the right place at the right time, and you use that ability, you can cause mayhem. You can cause.
Does it guarantee the spell, or does it just mean
No,
it can't be denied, so you can still fail it?
But there are Kabbalistic foci that enable you to cast the spell automatically.
Ah, okay.
There's one called Warp Sight, and this is my favourite by far. It only costs 3, but it's my favourite by far. You can... Basically, what happens is, the Psykers of the Thousand Suns can link minds together in the warp. So what this allows you to do is cast a power from one Psyker that another Psyker in the army knows. Right? How cool is that?
That is awesome.
You can wreak havoc with that. If you cleverly position your Psykers around the battlefield, you can do absolute anarchy with that.
You could form chain reactions left, right, and...
Yes, that's what they've done. They really want the psychic phase to be just like this anarchy of mortal wounds. That's what they want. That's really what goes on with the Thousand Suns. They just inflict absolute anarchy during the psychic phase. And all the emphasis is on the sorcerers. All the emphasis is on the characters, as it should be. And it also gives the enemy a way to play against them, which is you take down the characters.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way you do it. But I'm telling you now, they're hard to take down.
Well, what's the stat line for one of the average characters?
Well, the stats are pretty damn good. For the Exalted Sorcerer, for example, he's effectively like a Lord character. Mm-hmm. So like your Space Marine Captain, your Chaos Lord, but he's also a really kick-ass sorcerer as well. And there are ways of upgrading them. There's this wonderful rule called Legion Command. That's my phone, and it's me doing a weird. Yeah, that's not a portal, a demonic portal. I'm afraid that's like a Lovecraftian Eldritch portal.
Gotta get those portals right.
I know, right? There's so many different portals these days.
You can keep track.
Yeah, there is a rule called Legion Command, and what that enables you to do is spend points to upgrade each of your characters with a particular special rule, and it makes them into a different type of character. So you can upgrade one character into a dilettante, for example, and a dilettante can take an extra relic. If he's already got a relic, he can take another one.
Right.
Which is kind of cool, right? Your Exalted Sorcerer, you can actually upgrade one of your Exalted to the ranks of the Rahati. And the Rahati are the inner circle of Magnus the Red. So he gets... he can actually manifest another psychic power. So you basically make your Exalted Sorcerer into a mini Ahriman.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty damn good. There are even upgrades for your little sorcerers. So for like your sorcerers that lead your Rubric Marines or your Scarab Occult, that sort of affect their entire unit. They give them little upgrades for the entire unit. It's so good. There's so much character going on here. On top of that, you've got the cults. There are 9 different cults for the Thousand Suns, and each of them has a unique bespoke psychic power, a warlord trait, and an artifact. And if
this is where I was going to get interested, because the cult part of it seems to be this huge amorphous, you can kind of do whatever your heart's content is.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, basically, each of the detachments you have has to be of a particular cult. And every sorcerer in that cult will just automatically know the bespoke psychic power. So your average sorcerer, even the ones that are just leading, like, your little sorcerers, your aspiring sorcerers, they're going to be better than your Space Marine librarians in psychic terms.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
they're just going to know more powers. They're going to be able to. They're going to know more powers. They're going to be able to cast more powers. It's kind of cool.
All right.
Yeah.
So outside of things like melee and I'm going to guess what's their morale and leadership?
They're immune to it.
Type stuff.
They're immune to it.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Yeah,
okay.
There's just a special rule that makes them completely immune to it. They don't run away, which makes a lot of sense because, of course, they are, for the most part, they're walking suits of animated armor. What are they afraid of?
I was going to say, what about the sorcerers? Did the sorcerers can they run since they would be affected by fear?
Nope.
Potentially.
Nope. The whole army has that special rule.
I guess that's just to make things just more streamlined,
consistent,
and easier, right?
streamlined. Yeah, that's it. That's it exactly. They've really tried to put the emphasis on the Rubric Marines here, because the emphasis before was on Zarngor. Obviously, you saw lots of Thousand Sons armies that had loads of Zarngor. They've done what they did with the Death Guard. You know where there's that special rule that says you can only have as many Poxwalker units as you have Plague Marine units?
Yes.
They've done exactly the same here. And they've also given Rubric Marines just this huge shot in the arm. They've got their 2 wounds now, like all Space Marines.
Mm-hmm.
They've got 2 attacks now, which is really rather nice. They're just overall better than they were.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like they're certainly a force to be reckoned with.
They're very interesting. I mean, they are a thinking person's army. I would say they exist outside of the scale by which you would measure the effectiveness of other armies, because they just play completely differently from everything else. So, on the face of it, they are nowhere near as like the same scale as the Drukhari. Nowhere near. But given certain builds and certain ways of playing, they will do the business every time. They're a thinking person's codex. You're going to have to get all of the synergies right. You're going to have to think about army selection, and you're going to have to really think about where, in particular, your sorcerers are on the battlefield at any one time.
They still have access to dreadnoughts and rhinos and stuff like that? Okay.
They do. And also, now, dreadnoughts, in fact, all of the vehicles, apart from the demon edges, because they don't need it, they all have the Arcana Astartes keyword, which means that they get the 5+ invulnerable save that rubrics have. And they also get access to the Inferno combi bolters. Which is really rather cool, isn't it?
Bloody hell.
It's pretty good. It's pretty damn good. It's nice. They've just gone through with a fine-tooth comb, and they've really refined everything and made it more of what it's supposed to be, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it certainly sounds like the flavour of being the Thousand Sons is
That's
there.
it. I mean, my favourite section of the book is not anything to do with the rules or the psychic powers or anything. There's a section of background that gives you a character from each of the great cults.
Mm-hmm.
And the characters have got artwork, they've got background, and they're just designed to show you how the cults work. And they're absolutely wonderful. So you've got Lord Cataclystus, for example, who's the exalted sorcerer of the cult of magic. And he is unstable. His entire form is just consumed by warp fire at any given time. He's just like this crazy pyre of warp magic. You've got the Coven of Three, who are the sorcerers of the cult of scheming, and they are what I was talking about before. They're a Coven of 3 sorcerers whose minds are one. They've actually linked their souls in the warp so that they know what one another are thinking at any one time. They can communicate like at vast distances.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very cool. I love that. Love that so much. Probably my favourite is Sarthis Vore, who's the exalted sorcerer of the cult of time. And he exists out of temporal reality. So he has this capability to sort of pluck himself out of the temporal flow of time and place himself back in it at particular points. So there's background here that talks about him appearing where he cannot possibly be, like before an ambush has been sprung, or where there's another version of him and they fight together as allies.
Hang on.
Right, it's crazy, yeah?
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
I need a second to just... Are there rules for this kind of thing to happen on Oh, Jesus
In the
Christ.
Cult of Time section, yes, there are. And in fact, you know what? The Cult of Time, you're going to see a lot of them. You're gonna, because they're good. The Cult of Time are really good. Their psychic power, which again is automatically known by every sorcerer in the army, allows you to return dead models to units, which is pretty damn good. And their arcane artifact allows you to resurrect a dead character.
Right.
It's pretty damn good. It's pretty damn good.
Okay, so what's the downside for the Cult of Time then?
Cult of Time, the same as everything in the Thousand Suns. They're kind of one trick. You know, you've got to dominate the psychic phase and the shooting phase, and also they're going to be really small armies. These guys, like really small. They're the equivalent of the Grey Knights. They're the chaos equivalent of Grey Knights or Custodes.
Okay, right. That makes a lot of sense, because I was seeing like entire units jumping back up.
No, heavily elite. But with the right degree of planning and forethought, they're going to do the business every time. The new character they've got, the Infernal Master, he's a sorcerer chaplain. So he's got psychic powers, and he also has what is effectively a list of prayers, whereby he can summon tutelaries. You know, the tutelary spirits, which are actually demons? He can make pacts with tutelary spirits and summon them to the battlefield.
Okay.
It's really fun. Are
you going to make your own tutelaries then to represent them on the battlefield? Maybe not as their own thing, but like little tokens.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've got 2 models which I've already converted, which I think would make really good Infernal Masters. So I'm just going to model some little demons on their bases or something like that.
The most important question, George: are you going to buy the vintage book, the little tiny book with legs?
Oh God!
And use it as a tutelary?
Oh, at some point, yes. Or the little fish.
Yes,
the fish
all the classics.
It's got to be done.
Now, I have a parcel that I'm going to be sending you this weekend, Mr. George.
Sinister.
And do you know what I have sitting over here in a little box?
Exciting.
I have a little fish and a little book.
Oh, that will be appearing on a model not too far from now.
So, you want a cheap solution to make really crappy tutelaries?
Right.
Maybe go on eBay and find some Kinder Surprise toys. And obviously repaint them so they don't look like Kinder Surprise toys, but because I remember I had an orange with a pair of legs and eyes, and I was like, oh, that could be a fun tutelary.
Yeah, why not? Kinder Surprise toys, I like that. And also, I mean, chocolate, Kinder chocolate. I'm well into that. Well into that. But no, I mean, they're so good. It's kind of everything I want, This is kind of everything I want. All of the downsides in the army list are there because they're supposed to be. They're part of the character of the army. So it's like, great, fine. That's kind of what I like, That's what I want. All the units that were kind of a bit meh I can see why you would take them now. Like,
that's good.
They've all got a reason to be there.
Yeah, definitely. Like the Mutalith Vortex Beast. I mean, great idea. It just was a bit in the last codex. Now it's actually pretty good. I'd love to take an unbalanced army that's got 3 for fun, for funsies to see what happens. The Helldrake. Oh, the Hell Turkey, which had been nerfed to the nth degree by the time the 8th Ed Codex ran around. It wasn't that good. It's really good now. It's going to be an auto-include, the Helldrake.
I never thought Helldrakes look cool, though. That's the problem.
I don't like the miniature. I'm going to make my own. It's going to be a dragon of some description. I'm going to make my own. But in terms of the way it works, it's an aircraft at long last.
Was it not?
Nope. It was a beast.
I know in video games and stuff like Gladius, it's classed as an aerial unit.
In Warhammer 40k, it wasn't. It was classed as a monster. I know, right? So
Yes, it is a monster.
Clearly.
But it flies.
Right.
It's an aircraft.
All the benefits of aircraft, not being able to be hit by ground troops weren't there for the Helldrake. Now you can switch between. It's got the ability, so you decide what mode it's in at the beginning of your turn. So if it's
is that to represent it like flying by and then like flying in and stopping and hovering?
That's it, hovering and also landing, so it can assault things,
It lands.
Yeah,
it's got no legs.
It effectively lands and attacks things. Yeah.
What's it land on?
Good question.
It's got a tummy. It's got nothing else.
But it is good now. It's all of the demon engines are actually. Your Defiler, your Forge Fiend, your Mauler Fiend, they're all pretty good. They've all had a shot in the arm in terms of their ballistic skill and weapon skill, so they can actually hit things now.
Same for the Hellbrute. Is the Hellbrute a beast, a demon engine?
No,
or is that something else?
It's something else, the Hellbrute, but it is also pretty damn good. It's got the same weapon skill and ballistic skill as a Space Marine, so it's good. You know, it's pretty damn good. With the added benefit of it being insane. I see. I was again class the Hell Beast as a mediocre looking version of a Dreadnought. I always preferred the metal Dreadnought the most. Oh, as opposed to like the fleshy, weird torture chamber.
Yep, I like the metal Dreadnought with his big old hand and his little Chaos Space Marine on the front of him.
Oh, the second
even though he was metal. Yeah, the metal one that fell apart all the time that people hated because it was a pain to build.
That was the very first miniature I bought from that codex when it was made of lead.
I could believe it because it looks ace. It still looks cool visually.
Almighty. I remember, the photograph of it in the Second Ed Chaos Space Marine Codex. Obsessed over that.
I'm not surprised.
Absolutely obsessed over that. I loved it.
It was a Night Lords, wasn't it?
It was. Well, back in Second Ed, the Night Lords were the poster boys. I know that sounds really weird. It sounds really weird, but they were the poster boys for the Second Ed Chaos Space Marine Codex. If you remember, they were on the front of all the boxes.
Wow.
They were.
The Night Lords, the Terminators, the Chaos Space Marine, like the plastic Chaos Space Marines from that era, all Night Lords.
It's weird when you say that out loud.
Isn't it? Isn't it such a... You would think the obvious, who's on the front of the Codex? Abaddon the Despoiler. You'd think Black Legion, obviously. Nope, it was the Night Lords.
Odd.
It was just a weird thing. That was the paint scheme that was the heavy metal team went with.
I bet you somebody somewhere had a Night Lords army and they were just going, we're just going to go this way. We're going to use my Night Lords.
That might have been but they didn't exist until then.
No.
It's so weird. I mean, they were mentioned in the ROC books, but they were only mentioned, and nothing else about them had been established, like their colour scheme or anything like that. So it's so weird. I don't know why they went with the Night Lords, but that did kick off like this massive cultural love of the Night Lords in Games Workshop because people adore them now.
It helps that they've had really good books associated with them as well.
That does help. Yes.
Yeah.
I've just had this weird memory float in, and I don't know if it's real or if I've made it up. Did somebody make a Night Lords army in Second Ed using the plastic fantasy bats for the sides of the helmets?
You know what, they might have. That's actually ringing quite a big bell for me.
I'm gonna have to look this up.
That featured in White Dwarf, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm
thinking of White Dwarf.
That is sort of that is ringing a bell for me.
I'm gonna have to go. It might even be Third Ed.
Could have been Third Ed. Yeah. Could have been.
I'm gonna have to go looking through old White Dwarfs now and see if I can find it.
Well, do you remember back in Third Ed when the Index Astartes started coming out?
Yes.
And everybody collected. Well, let's be fair. Everyone collected like Chaos Space Marine legions because they were the shit, and the Loyalist legions were a bit boring in comparison.
Yeah, other than the Black Templars, which got a ridiculous amount of love in Third Ed.
In Third Ed, they were on the box, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, they're back.
Aye. That's almost like I planned that. Yeah. The fact that the new Black Templars interests me.
Have you seen I like the fact they've given them like flamer weapons now because that fits.
I really enjoy the word Pyroblaster.
It is so silly and so grimdark and silly, and I kind of love it.
I do. I adore Pyroblaster. Yeah. It's not a flamer anymore. It's a Pyroblaster.
Yeah, it's great.
Pyroblaster.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to what they do with them. I like the Black Templars in their like extremism because they are effectively like the Spanish Inquisition, aren't they? They're like crusading, like King Richard Knights, aren't they? Essentially.
And rumor is it the Emperor doesn't like them anymore.
Well, Guilliman doesn't.
No.
Guilliman hates
them.
Well,
we all know that Guilliman ate the Emperor, and he is he's wandering around as the actual Emperor now.
Well, actually, I mean, like, there's some stuff. I'm reading the current Godblight, the Dark Imperium book. And there's some really fascinating ruminations about what's going on with the Emperor in there. I mean, Guilliman's a really fascinating guy in that book. He's got a council of not only human psychers and space marine psychers from all the different chapters, but also aliens.
Yeah.
Like Eldari and other aliens as well that are only referred to.
Yeah, weird, isn't it?
And he's really good to them, like really polite. The Eldari is a bit of a swine, to be honest. The Eldari are very snooty to human beings, and he's constantly saying things like, well, I will simplify this concept so that you understand, And Guilliman's really polite and gives him all honor, But they have this powwow in the book where they discuss what the hell is going on with the Emperor. And the Eldari spells out essentially the metaphysics of the 40k universe, and he basically says, well, belief is the key. Belief and faith is the thing. Essentially, what's happening around your Emperor is that a god is being born. It may not be him, but it doesn't matter. What will matter is what comes about. Whether he becomes that god or whether he's destroyed or consumed in the process doesn't matter.
Right.
There's a nascent god being born around the Emperor. Because of all the belief that's out there, because there are these new saints and churches and things cropping up all across the galaxy, and Guilliman is not happy because this is not what was supposed to happen. Obviously, this is the antithesis of everything that he wanted to happen.
Yeah, well, Guilliman wanted to happen. Yeah, I still say Big Money E was up to this.
Guilliman asks that question: "Is this what you wanted, Father?" He does ask that. And he's not happy. In fact, the Eldari goes even further and says, you do realize that it's not just the Emperor that you need to watch out for, it's yourself. People are making a saint out of you as well. And a god could just as easily coalesce in your skin. So be careful,
Yeah, that's a worrying sentence.
Right.
And a little too close to what I was saying about Andy earlier on.
Yay!
I mean, I love that book. It's actually really well written. There's some lovely tensions between characters like Marnius Calgar, for example. He loves the fact Guilliman is back. Obviously he does, but there is tension between them because they're separated by 10,000 years.
Yes.
They're not the same. Like the Ultramarines that he knew are gone.
Yeah. The Ultramarines that exist now are very different to the ones that were there when he led them.
Different. Very different creatures. You've got Tigurius going around, who's like not really what Guilliman wanted for his legion. Tigurius is a seer, like an Eldari. He reads the skeins of the future, and Guilliman is very unhappy about that, even though he acknowledges the use of it.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because Guilliman, you always kind of got the idea that he was this one-note pony.
Yes, right up until recently.
Yeah, that now he's around, you realise, actually, no, there's a lot going on under the skin with him.
Yeah, Guilliman in the 41st millennium is way more interesting than he's ever been.
Absolutely.
Much more tensions going on.
He's a fish out of water.
Yeah.
The world that he has discovered is not the world that he left.
And he's in trouble. He's facing tension all the time. I mean, he talks in this book about how there are movements on Earth, on Terra, to get rid of him or to depose him already. There are the High Lords, all of which he deposed, just got rid of, just cast them out, basically, so he could establish his own autocracy, I suppose. They're still working against him.
They need Guilliman to be gone so the religion can flourish.
Yeah, they're afraid of him. They're terribly afraid of him. Even the Adeptus Custodes, there's a Custodes that follows Guilliman around, and it's ostensibly for his protection, but there's like a small chapter from the Custodes' perspective, and he's like, of course it's not for his protection, he's a Primarch. Doesn't need my protection. It's to make sure that he's on the right track, and that he stays there.
Yeah, because if he goes down the path that nobody wants him to go down, there's going to be no stopping him. You can't stop a Primarch from going down that path, especially not in the 41st millennium.
Well, there's nobody that can stop them, is there? There's no one around that's the equal of them, really, except another Primarch. And, Chaos has all the cards in that regard.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it, that we still haven't had any other Loyalist Primarchs
I'm
return?
Quite surprised, yeah, and also no inkling of them at all, like nothing. Whereas there are rumours, and fairly credible rumours, of traitor Primarchs returning very soon, actually, Zangron and obviously Fulgrim, and the way Ninth Ed is going, I cannot see them integrating the World Eaters and the Emperor's Children into the core Chaos Space Marine Codex. I just can't see it.
Absolutely not. No. It would make absolutely no sense.
It wouldn't. It would make no sense whatsoever. Combined with all the other rumours we've heard and all the other rumblings that are going on, it would make no sense. And also, just in terms of financially, there are 2 huge lusted after miniatures ranges there.
Yes.
People will go nuts. New Berserkers? How long have people been calling out for new Berserkers?
Everyone who isn't me, because I think it's Berserkers that we've got are the ones that should stay forever now.
Probably the same people that have been calling out for new Eldar warriors.
That's a fair point, yes.
Yeah, the Eldar need to have new miniatures before the Berserkers get changed.
It's true. It's funny you should mention, I was watching a video on YouTube by a guy called Striking Scorpion, and he was going through the 3rd Ed Chaos Space Marine, the 3rd Ed rulebook. The big 3rd Ed Warhammer 40k rulebook, and when you open the 3rd Ed 40k rulebook, on the inside cover, there are photographs of different armies set up, and there are battles between Chaos Space Marines and Astra Militaria and Loyalist Marines, and he's going through and he goes, all of those miniatures are now OOP. All of those miniatures are now OOP. They've all been replaced, and then you get to the one with the Eldari. And it's you know what? Almost all of those miniatures are still in play.
And they got rid of the one with the Eldar in the walking chair.
Oh, the Warwalker.
Yeah, they got rid of that. How could they do that?
That was my first 40k miniature ever.
Really?
Why did you get it?
That was my favourite thing
so
in all the
silly.
world. I loved it. I loved it. As a kid, I loved it to bits. It was made of lead. The laser cannon on it bent all the time.
Oh, totally, yeah.
I loved it. I loved everything about it. I had a fleet of them in my first 40k army, which was Eldar, as they were back then.
Yep. My God.
Yeah, still a massive soft spot. I still love them to bits. My Agiani, love them.
Out of interest, Andy, what was your first ever 40k miniature?
It was probably whatever was in the box set that had the paper dreadnought in.
Oh, the Orcs and the Space Marines, yeah?
No, it would have been Space Hulk. Would have been Space Hulk.
Terminators and Gene Stealers.
Yeah, the 3-part Gene Stealers and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-part for the most part Terminators.
Yeah.
That would have been my first 40k
stuff. The ones with had the little nubs on the on the legs, so you could put the torso around it.
Yep.
Oh my.
Yeah, so you could get a small twist into some of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my God, I love those Terminators.
Yeah,
they had really good artwork as well, all across the board for the box from the instruction guide. Yeah, it was a strong look. Little blips were quite neat as well.
It was the showcase for the Terminators, wasn't it?
Space Hulk. Pretty much.
It really was what they were about.
To this day, I adore those plastic Space Hulk Terminators.
Yeah, they're very.
I like the Gene Stealers a lot as well.
Yeah, well, that
I think
classic
the Gene Stealers
look.
are iconic.
They haven't changed much.
No, not really. No.
They're pretty much the same now.
In fact, I would go so far to say that the only thing that's ever changed about them has been the posing.
Yeah, they've had a few new little upgrades you can introduce to certain miniatures. You can make some of them into the Imgal Gene Stealers with the Cthulhian face.
Blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
I remember when the reissue of Space Hulk came out, I didn't I never got it, but I visually didn't like the look of the artwork they had for it, especially the box art. I thought it was a massive step down, and I didn't like the poses and how the Terminators generally looked. I thought some of the Gene Stealers were really cool, and then other ones were a bit on the weird proportion size because of how they were trying to pose them on things.
Yeah. My God.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here now, like, remembering these things and just sitting all warm and happy.
Oh, Space Hulk was great. It was a fun game as well. It's so tense.
Mm-hmm.
So tense, especially if you're the Space Marine player.
Yeah, you're just playing on easy mode, playing the Gene Stealers.
Yeah. I don't think I ever had a game where the Terminators accomplished their mission, you know?
No, it's too hard. I don't know whether the reissues kind of tweaked the rules just a little bit, but I think some tweaking of the rules was necessary to maybe not have all of the thousands of blips in, or maybe like limit so you can't have like all like maybe you can arrange the blips so you don't have all of the sixes in there. Because if you were really lucky and you got 3 6s on the field at once, it's like you dead.
What they're gonna do?
Yeah.
May as well just give up at that point.
Yeah.
I remember playing a game of Space Hulk, and a guy, we basically played loads of different campaigns with it, and one of them was, I think it was called like the Lone Dreadnought or something like that, and it was a dreadnought in a room by itself. It couldn't get out because all the corridors were too small, and you just had like, I think it was 7 or 8 corridors coming off it. Like there was a collapsed one that he was meant to have come through, and then there was all the open ones, so it'd be 7, and the blips were just coming in from all angles.
Oh,
and it was, how long does the dreadnought last?
That sounds fun.
That was really tense. I remember that one being quite big.
Yeah.
We also played one where a guy had 3 Space Marine motorbikes.
Oh, right.
And it was like trying to get through the Hulk on these motorbikes.
Wow.
How they turn corners?
Yeah.
Poorly. But the idea was you weren't trying to win by killing the Gene Stealers. The idea was to try and get to the exit point.
Got you.
So it wasn't get into fights. It was to try to avoid the fights, and because the Steelers are swarming you. Because the moment you stopped, you were pulled off the bike and you were dead.
I mean, like Gene Stealers. You know when they introduced them into like 40k? How badass were they? And how badass have they always remained?
Oh yeah. Gene Stealers are like
ridiculous.
Weird.
In some editions, they are absolutely ridiculous. Again, if you look at them in the third, you know how the third ed 40k book had army lists in the back to get you by because all the codices were made redundant by it. The Gene Stealers that are in that get you by list are like, each of them is the equivalent of a character in another army. They ignore armor saves completely because of their claws, because that's what happened back then. Their weapon skill 6. Chaos Lords weren't weapon skill 6. Drakari Archons were not weapon skill 6. Space Marine Captains were not weapon skill 6.
No.
Mad.
They were monstrous.
Mad.
I remember the blurb that came with them. It actually said their claws can punch through adamite like it was paper. It actually said that as a piece of lore that went with it, because that's what they were. They were monstrous, and it's one of the things that's weird about the Gene Stealer cult army, that it does feel that it's downplayed how powerful the actual Gene Stealers are in order to get the horde of the cult.
Yes.
That's not a good or a bad thing. It just simply is.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I mean, it does make sense given the army. They're not supposed to have those units, like the big killer units. They're not that army.
No, they don't have a huge amount of Gene Stealers actually in them.
No.
I mean, it's always been the moment Gene Stealers turned up, there should be a fear like nothing else.
Yeah, that's kind of it's the end of the cycle, isn't it? When the actual pure strain Gene Stealers turn up. So that's when the world is about to collapse.
Yes. Yeah. That's when it goes bye-byes.
That said, certainly in 8th Ed, what's the leader of the Gene Stealer cults? The big thing?
The Patriarch.
The Patriarch. The Patriarch is a monster.
The Patriarch should always be a monster.
Total monster.
It's a shame that they've made it look as muscular and dynamic as it is now.
You want the fat one again?
I was going to say you want the Jabba the Hutt one back.
Well, the reason I like it is it doesn't look as dangerous as it actually is.
Yeah.
There's something about the cute, cuddly Petra. I mean, you got the one on the throne, which is all super.
Well, there used to be a time when the Patriarch would be more like a crime lord, wouldn't it? You know what I mean? It would actually talk, and it would be involved in the politics of the planet and whatnot. They were intelligent creatures, you know.
There's a wonderful story. To go back to the Ian Watson Inquisitor War book series that I mention on a fairly regular basis. The assassin Belinda, she's got a short story where she infiltrates a gene stealer cult. And there's a moment where you get to have a look inside the patriarch's head.
Oh, interesting.
And just see how it connects to every other member of the cult and every other gene stealer and hybrid. And, you know, it's trying to connect to her, but because she's not actually a hybrid, it can't.
It can't, yeah.
And that's how it knows it's wrong. And it's, she gets brought before it into the father was dreaming of your body last night. He dreamt of scarabs. Ah, yes, I have tattoos. How do you have tattoos? You're a hybrid. You silly. And it's just this wonderful moment where it like tries to like get inside her head, and it's like, oh no, that's not good. That's not nice. This overwhelming, suffocating love that it has, and it's it's more powerful than any sword because it just brings you in, and your will is no longer your own. You come under the love of the patriarch.
Yeah,
and
that's kind of what it does with its psychic powers, isn't it? Like that's its whole shtick. It's all about domination of the mind, isn't it?
Yeah. I love that stuff.
That is very cool. I mean, they're coming, aren't they? They are so on their way.
Oh yes, without a shadow of a doubt.
We've had a rumor engine that's clearly some Gene Stealer cult model. I imagine they're going to do what they've done with like the Thousand Sons and the Death Guard, where it's just going to be like a character, and then that'll be it. Because their miniatures range is pretty much there, isn't it? It's all done.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you'll probably get an extra character, and that's about it.
Yep.
But then again, saying that, if there's one thing the Gene Stealer cults do not need, it's more bloody characters.
Right, they're kind of
like 20.
They don't need anything else, really, do they? They're done.
No.
You know, their miniatures range is there, and it's done. Again, fascinated to see what they do with them in Ninth Ed.
Although, imagine if they had like an animal trainer who just had like Gene Stealers, like doing like handstands and stuff.
Sort of like your Drakari Beastmaster, yeah.
Yeah. Only this one's wearing like a circus hat.
Oh, so Clan Moors.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Fun.
Although saying that, you have those little like weird psychic emanation Gene Stealer familiar things, don't you?
Oh yeah, which are fabulous idea. Love it. I love the fact that they're not actually creatures. They're like they're effectively demons, right?
Mm-hmm. They're just born of the psychic soup that is the cult.
I love it. I mean, it really does emphasize like the peculiar metaphysics of 40k, where belief can create things. It can actually do things.
Yeah. You know that you were talking about books earlier on? Mm-hmm. I've got some books to tell you about.
Yay!
Would you like to hear about some books?
Go on. I'm always ready to hear about books.
This will make Andy happy because all of them are Age of Sigmar.
Oh.
Hey.
Right.
What are they about? Or who are they about?
Well, first one was Dominion, the novel that came out for the third ed Age of Sigmar. Mm-hmm. It's pretty damn bloody good.
Is it all right?
I mean, it doesn't start. I was expecting it to be the story of a battle between some Stormcast and some Oryx.
Right? Yeah, that would make sense.
The Krill Boys. The Krill Boys don't turn up until maybe 3/4 of the way through the book.
Oh wow! Okay.
They're in the background. They're in the shadows. They're in the mist.
Which makes sense.
Right? You don't see them until the last quarter of the book.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. It's all about the fact that there's a brother and sister, who they're chased from their home by Oryx, like Ironjaw Oryx, who murder everyone in the village, and they get to Excelsis.
Oh, okay.
We're back in Excelsis. Adam's very happy.
What like state of Excelsis is this? Is this like post Broken Realms?
No. The book starts way before Broken Realms.
Okay.
So you get in there. The entire family's dead. Everyone's murdered, and these two get into Excelsis. And they have promised their father on his deathbed, as he's been gutted by a couple of Oryx, they will make something of their lives. Right?
Okay.
Oh, I thought you were going to say of him. Like him into a handbag.
We're going to turn into a pair of boots.
Yeah.
Everywhere I walk, it'll be on your face, father. Do you like my earrings? Gonads. No. So they promise that they're going to make something of themselves. The sister joins the watch, gets really high up in that. The brother becomes basically a hired thug.
Okay.
Always trying to find the score that's going to make him rich. Always trying to find the events that are going to give him power, and he constantly fails at it. Right, and their story is he accidentally gets himself found with cultists.
Of course, in Excelsior would.
Oh yeah, zealots come after him. His sister tries to get him out. She then accidentally, trying to get rid of all these artifacts that he's stolen over the years. That each one is, this one will make me rich. This one will make me powerful. This one will give me what I need. None of them ever do. But one of the artifacts gives her the gift of far-seeing.
Oh, interesting. Right?
And then everyone gets behind her as if she was a prophet. And they elevate her. Oh, yeah. They elevate her to a messianic figure.
Oh, dear.
And then they form a crusade around her.
Oh.
And it's the Dawnbringer Crusade.
Oh, okay.
Right. So the entire thing is built on, stolen chaos artifacts.
Oh, now that is fantastic. So there is already corruption at the heart of the Dawnbringer Crusade, like Zechian corruption, yeah?
Yeah. And it's there's she becomes less and less human as this goes on, and occasionally kind of slips back into it. All the people are around her, ushering her away from everybody, including her brother, making sure that she can't be, talking to... the normal people. She has to keep, being imperious, keep her, be this figurehead. She gets less and less choice as this entire book goes along. She has to keep following the things that she said. She can't ever, whenever she tries to deviate from it, it's like, I was mistaken. I've read it wrong. It's like, no.
I'm not the Messiah. I say you are Lord, and I should know. I followed a few.
And it's actually a really, really good book because the fighting doesn't happen until way, way into the end.
Right. That does sound really good, actually.
There's an entire sequence where these worms start shooting out of the mud when it rains. And it's like they go through people like arrows. It's then they merge together and form this kraken that just feeds on all the dead bodies.
Oh,
and it's
nice.
It is so muddy and so grimy.
Lovely place, the Mortal Realms, aren't they? Yeah, it's just lovely.
I love Gur. Gur's amazing. But there is a Stormcast character, right? And once again, I really like the Stormcast.
Okay.
Because this Stormcast isn't fully on the Mortal Realms.
Oh, okay.
Right?
That's fascinating.
He's constantly trying to focus on what's in front of him. He's focus on the reality, the physical reality of what's in front of him. But when he doesn't concentrate, he floats away and he just starts thinking about the storm and he sees everything in the storm.
Oh.
This metaphysical parallel reality of the storm.
Oh.
And how people are like eddies in the clouds, and he's someone's talking to him and he's looking at them. It's are you real? And it's having to focus in. And it's yes, you are a real human being. You're an actual person. I must talk to you in this way. But then he slips and loses concentration, and they just become this eddy in the storm. This the sound of rain in the distance rather than them speaking. It's
I like
this
that.
is really cool stuff. I like this a lot.
To be fair, I do that with people who bore me as well. So it's understandable. I'm sure it's not just that, and it's not. He's just bored of what they're talking about.
Yeah, is this just a mechanism that is created in his mind, so to deal with boring people?
Yeah, they're talking about the crops, and they're talking about how muddy it is, and it's always raining, and he's like, "Oh my god, let's think about some clouds instead."
Another cool thing about him is that he keeps having this vision of being at this siege, and this is where his unit was meant to go. They were meant to go to this siege, but they had to go off and protect these people, bring them to where they need to be. And then the idea is to drop them off, then we go to the siege. But things keep happening, and he never gets to the siege. And he keeps saying, we have to leave these people to die now, because this siege is where our glory is.
What were they sieging?
It was a chaos army against like a big city.
Right.
I didn't recognize the name of. And everyone's like, well, we can't just leave him to die.
Yeah, you can.
And then he kind of realizes that he's read this entire series of events completely wrong, and he's like, "Oh no!"
Oh,
it is such a good book. It really is. It is far better than a novel that's like to tie in with the release of a new game should ever be.
Yeah, there is a tendency for them to be a bit by the numbers.
Simplistic, yeah.
Just sort of by the numbers, you know.
Talking about you, Indomitus.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, poor Indomitus. You're right, of course.
Yeah. Oh, that was bad.
Yeah.
Another one is the Age of Enlightenment, which is a Lumineth book.
I was going to say that's a Lumineth-based book, isn't it?
So I've got 2 Lumineth books that I've just finished. One, the Age of Enlightenment. It is about the Lumineth as they mobilise for war to fight against a invading Ossiarch Bone Reaper army. And the Realm Lords, which is the Lumineth mobilising to invade to fight against an invading Slaaneshi army. What's good about Age of Enlightenment is when it moves over to the Bone Reapers.
Oh.
Because then you get to see what it's like to be a Bone Reaper.
Yeah.
It's a lot more interesting than I ever thought it was.
With all those different, like, pieces of souls inside of yourself.
The general, he absorbs a high elf, a Lumineth soul, right? To better understand how they fight, to better understand how they live, and to better understand how to defeat them.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. What he doesn't realise is that she was an incredibly powerful sorcerer, and she is degrading him from the inside.
Right.
So he keeps making really stupid choices, and he gets really angry, and he wants to go and kill this person that's leading the other army. But you realise it's way too late. It's because they were friends. So the soul's been moving him into place in order to get his ass whooped. It's a really cool.
That's very cool. As a concept, that's great because it's using something that's key to the nature of the Ossiarchs. You know, it feeds into the mythos of them. Because as storytelling goes, that is the most fascinating thing about the Ossiarchs. The fact that they are these patchwork composites of different consciousnesses.
Yeah. The Soul Masons. It's I never realised that every single Bone Reaper fears the Soul Masons.
Yeah, because they can now make them just like that.
Yeah, So the general beheads the Soul Mason of his army in order to stop it because he starts to believe that he can be human. Well, not human. He knows he's never going to get skin again, for example. But he believes he can be a king again. He will be he will have a kingdom again, and he will be a ruler again.
And that's where he could. There's enough bone rattle kings out there.
Oh yeah. It's a fair point,
actually.
It's a decent book. It's not as good as Dominion. The fact that it deals with that and it deals with how the Lumineth deal with emotion.
Yeah.
Because the main Lumineth character, he never wants to be a general because he feels that he would get too caught up in the act of killing. So he keeps backing away from it, and Teclis turns up and just goes, "Fucking get to it, mate." It's no, I don't want to. This is a very bad idea. And Teclis being Teclis is no, I've decided you're going to do this. Go on, hop to it. And this guy's the last time I led an army, I was basically beating people to death with their own legs, and I was laughing the entire way. This is not a good thing. You don't want me doing this. And Teclis is yeah, I do. Go on, hop to it. So that's all really cool stuff that's in there as well.
Yeah, I like that. Any fiction that deals with the nature of a particular race or species, totally in there.
Now, Realm Lords, on the other hand, if I said to you that the entire point of the story is a subjugate who no longer becomes a subjugate and becomes a full-blown stone guard, and that's the story.
Oh, okay.
You'd probably think, a novella, maybe? Novella, yeah. Maybe a little short story. Oh, no. This book doesn't end.
Oh.
It just keeps going. Keeps going and going. The only good thing about it so far is when they come across some dispossessed and they talk about how they are the remnants of the world that was.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay.
Which is really interesting.
Yes.
They don't say that they are reborn dwarves. They don't say they are dwarves at home. They say they are the leftovers of the world that was.
So they're actually from the world that was. They're not just like the descendants of people from the world that was.
Which is like, hang on, how the hell did you guys survive?
Yeah, because it's a long time ago, isn't it?
So they are my recommendations. Well, 2 recommendations and one...
And one not so much.
Oh, can you please get to the point? That's I think everything. Oh, actually, no, there is another thing I wanted to say book-wise. Nothing to do with Warhammer. Has anyone ever read the original Ghostbusters movie novelization?
No, I can't say I have.
Go read it. It's the weirdest thing I've ever read.
Yeah, I imagine it would be.
There's an entire chapter dedicated to the librarian at the beginning of the film.
Oh, is there? Like the background of the librarian?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, do you know what she was doing before she saw the ghost?
No.
She was reading weird porn. She found...
What kind of porn?
Woodcuts.
Okay.
I don't know what that is.
So, like, medieval style pornography of, like, satyrs and things.
Oh, that's not that weird. Come on.
Well, it is
that's
when
just
you're...
themed.
But yeah,
there are a lot of weirder things out there, my friend.
Oh,
I'll need to show you porn at some point.
It's hinted that the reason there's a ghost in the library is because that she's been reading through all these forbidden books.
Okay, all right.
There's an entire chapter dedicated to Egon Spengler as a kid.
Okay.
And how he like made bombs out of chicken poo. And he once got a copy of the Necronomicon. And
well, yeah, I mean, come on, of course he did.
I mean, who wouldn't?
His favourite book is Your Friend the Fungus. It's like, this book is amazing. It is like the weirdest thing I've ever read because it's very familiar, but then not every now and again, it constantly does it. It just veers off into unfamiliar directions.
Into weirdness, basically.
And he just said, what the hell is happening? This is an entire chapter about the fact that when Egon Spengler was a teenager, instead of like going to the prom, he sat with binoculars, made a load of notes of all the people who were getting it on prom night, and then using a load of formulas based on the tides of Lake Erie, calculated how many people would come down with venereal disease 3 months later.
That's kind of funny.
The book's just full of this stuff. It's brilliant.
But,
yeah.
That's odd.
Yeah.
That is really strange.
Is anything else anybody wants to discuss?
I kind of had a Ghostbusters foray as well. I went back and watched some of the real Ghostbusters, the cartoon from the 1980s.
Oh, best cartoon ever.
Pretty good. Surprised. It's pretty good. I have a habit of resisting nostalgia a lot these days. I try to see things not through that sort of rose-tinted view. I really enjoyed the episodes that I watched. I thought it was really genuinely funny, and there's some great. It's like Tales of the Unexpected for kids.
Yes,
like every single episode is self-contained and has a proper story going on. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. There's usually an interesting metaphysics behind it. There's often a monster or a demon or a ghost that's world-ending in some peculiar way. I really enjoyed it.
You know what's really good? The Ghostbusters never get shrunk down and chased by a cat.
Oh, that is another thing. It kind of avoids the formulas that were part and parcel of just every 1980s cartoon based on a toy franchise. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, the one episode I watched, which I thought was fantastic, was Knock Knock. Have you seen the episode Knock Knock?
Yes.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. I mean, just brilliant, like horror storytelling with comedy elements thrown in.
The one that always gets me is the Sandman.
The Sandman.
Episode.
Oh God, that is good.
It's a beautiful bit of TV.
That's
animation,
Frank Welker,
whatever you want to
doing his Sandman voice.
Yeah. Oh my God. Sandman and When Halloween Was Forever. Those two are just classics. Yeah. But I think the Sandman one is my personal favorite because it's so nightmarish.
Yeah, it is a good one.
I mean, once you remove all these sort of the dreams coming to life and whatnot, just the idea of everybody being asleep.
Yeah, there was some creepy imagery in that episode. Where towards the end, when everybody is asleep.
Yeah.
That it is kind of weird.
And it helps that the Sandman's voice is truly terrifying.
Yeah, well, it's Frank Welker doing his voice, isn't it? Which he does a lot.
When everyone's asleep.
That's it, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. World of dreams.
A world of dreams.
Nobody can do that like Frank Welker. Nobody.
No, you can't get the grit into it.
It must have been difficult for him, that episode, because he plays a lot of the voices anyway. I mean, he's Ray Stantz, he's Slimer. Yeah.
Well, no, it's Frank Welker. The man sits and just does background dog noises for The Simpsons. Right? It's consummate professional.
He's sort of an industry legend, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And there's a reason he's expensive to get to places.
Yeah.
So to finish off, then I've got a load of questions for us.
A load of questions.
My God.
Yeah. Are you buckled in and ready? Okay. So I asked on the Discord for people to give us questions.
Okie doke.
So to start off, Matty Boo, which is Matt Clark.
Hey, Matt.
He says, Bob Ross or Bros?
I'm not particularly a fan of either, but Bros would be short, wouldn't it? It would be a music video, so I'll go for Bros.
Bob Ross, as we mentioned earlier, we could use to calm demons down.
Could, but I don't want to calm them down.
True. And half of Bros has been in Hellboy: The Golden Army.
Oh, right, okay. So yes, I'll go for Bros.
And he was also the weird vampire in Blade 2.
Yes, he was. Yes, so yes, that's turned it completely. It's Bros.
Andy, Bob Ross or Bros?
Bob. Bob made of machines.
Robert Cop. Grot bags or tea bags?
Jesus Christ. That's I said I avoid nostalgia, but I'm getting a deep well of it now. I always liked the theatricality of Teabag. I liked the theatricality of Teabag, and the way it sometimes got weird.
Yes. Yes, it did.
Scary weird. So I'm going to go with Teabag.
All right, Andy?
Well, I like the only tea bags I know are the ones you put in cups. So I don't know what.
Oh, you don't know what it's referring to?
No,
oh
I have no idea.
God! Oh, jeez. Teabag was a CITV children's drama.
Was it live action?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have said no. That was boring woo woo as me as a kid. It needed to be a cartoon, otherwise it could burn in hell. I had zero interest in live action stuff as a kid. It took me years to watch The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Never did The Fresh Prince. That was my brother's.
It took me years to watch anything. I wouldn't watch anything live action. Refused.
To be honest with you, has much changed in those years?
Not really, no. Unfortunately.
What about you, Adam? Grot bags, Teabag?
Oh, grot bags.
Grot bags.
Purely because you say grot bags and all I hear in my head is, there's somebody at the door.
Yeah.
There's somebody at the door. There's somebody at the door. Caledon JP asks, the best version of Age of Empires?
This is beyond my expertise, really.
I'm going to say the best version is the one that you like most, JP.
No, you should have said Might and Magic 2 or 3, whichever one you love the most. That's what you should have said.
Three. What do you mean 2 or 3?
I don't know.
How dare you, sir?
I don't know which one you love.
It's Heroes of Might and Magic 3, which, by the way, is coming up very close to being a 30-year-old game.
Yeah. 2000X He-Man is nearly 20 years old.
Sod off.
Next year.
Actually, it's next year. Yeah.
Sod off.
I discovered that Papa Roach's Last Resort and Soil's Halo all celebrated their 20th anniversary this year.
Wow.
Which, yikes.
Ouch.
And then the final question, is Imperium a good way to start an army?
Oh, the collectible magazine.
Yeah,
thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's the newest one, isn't it?
I'm not sure. I haven't really explored it that much, if I'm perfectly honest.
You know what's dumb about it? Do you remember what the last 40k collectible magazine had in for their two armies?
No idea.
It was Space Marines and Necrons. What's this new one have for its two collectible armies? Space Marines and Necrons. Jesus.
I thought it was Space Marines and Chaos, like the Death Guard.
No, I'm pretty sure it's Necrons.
Like the Conquest.
Conquest had Necrons in, but yeah, this newest one that's coming out.
No, the new one's got Necrons, but I'm sure Conquest was Death Guard, wasn't it?
Nope. Oh, wait. Oh.
Was it Death Guard? I don't know.
Oh, I think you're right. I am stupid.
No,
you got me. You got me, Gruff. Otherwise, I would have been more happy with it. It must have been just because it just feels like they've been resting on Necrons for ages.
Yeah. Oh, they started announcing Imperium nearly a year ago at this point. So.
Oh my god.
That's probably why you're thinking of it that way.
Yeah.
Probably. Oh my god.
I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not. I'm not.
It depends how much you like them.
Yeah.
If you like both armies, then it's great to go for. If you only like one army, then it's going to be a bit of a struggle to get through. Also, there are some issues where you'd be like, this is a waste of my money and life because it's just one pot of paint, and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And then other ones are really good. So it's what you want to start off with and then just drop out of quickly.
Yeah.
Hard to say.
I mean, you've got things like the Mortal Realms part by, or however you want to call it. So over 3 issues, they did the Mortis engine, right? Mm-hmm. So you get half the Mortis engine in issue, say, 87 or whatever it is. The next half in 88, and then you get this week's issue, which is just the base by itself.
Right, got you.
So it's $7.99 over 3 issues. I don't know. It's still cheaper, but I don't know. I did Mortal Realms for a while, and to be honest with you,
you got annoyed with it, didn't you?
I did.
Oh, did you?
I ended up really not enjoying the process of it.
Right, got you.
And I think it's down to the length of time it went on for.
It does go on for a very long time.
Yeah.
To get everything, it's like a year or more, right?
Oh, yeah.
Which is...
It's a long time.
Yeah. Also, multiple issues with stuff being sent out and not sent out. And the logistics behind it were a bit problematic. I would say if you're interested in getting into Imperium in order to build 40k armies, just go to Smith's. Say, can you get me an issue of this each week? I'll come in and buy it, and do it that way.
Yeah.
I think that's the safest way of doing it, because then you're only paying $7.99 a week rather than £40, whatever it would be. $7.99 times 4 would be £32. Yeah, rather than paying that in a chunk each month. It's, I don't know, there's something about Partworks which always annoy me, and I think it's that grind of how long they go on for. If they went on for 8 months and you knew there's the start date and there's the end date and that's how long they're going to run for, I think it would be a lot easier to swallow. But because they just keep on going, and after a while, and it's what they're there for, it's how they're marketed, it's how they make the money.
Yeah.
After a while, you're so invested that you don't really want to give up with it. And then I just kind of went, fuck this noise, I'm done with it. Also, I can't afford to keep it going, so
there's that
it goes bye-byes. But yeah, I mean, when you got issues that was just like, here's the second half of a Stormcast sprue that you got the first half of last week, you just, oh, for God's sake, come on, mix it up a bit better than this. Because I remember there was one month where I got half a Stormcast sprue, some paint, some bases. And it was just, this is not worth the money I've just spent. So, yeah. But that's just my own personal feelings on it. I think if you want to get into it and you want to do it, I think it's definitely worth getting the first issue. I mean, $2.99, you get a Necron Lord and a Primaris Lieutenant.
Yeah,
it's worth it for that.
Absolutely. I think it's $3.99 for issues 2 and 3. So, yeah, I mean, fill your boots. Go and get them. But also keep an eye on eBay for the next couple of weeks as people try to sell issue 1 for £30.
Yeah, so it's sort of a case of mileage may vary, yeah?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's good. That's going to happen because that's what always happens. But yeah, it's one of those things where if you're into the idea of getting something each week, then yeah, go for it. Jump into it. And you get 2 armies at the end, plus a load of scenery. I mean, money-wise, it is worth doing for the sheer amount you get for, I think, 2/3 of the price of what you'd spend if you wanted all this stuff by itself. You know, it is cheaper to go down this route. It's a lot of money to pay out each week.
Yeah.
And again, it comes down to, do you want it all? Because if you only want half of it, and if you don't want the scenery either, that's like, ugh, that's a lot.
It is. No, absolutely, it is. Yeah, and it's...
Because I got annoyed with getting scenery, and I got annoyed with getting Space Marines, which I didn't want either.
Oh, that's right. You did... you did Conquest for a long while, didn't you? Yeah,
pretty much, yeah.
How did you find it?
I got annoyed with it. I got bored of it. I was just like, oh god, it's this thing again.
Yeah. Oh look, it's another McCrag Blue.
It's 4 pots of paint through 3 magazines and 1 Space Marine sprue, which does half of a model.
There's a certain contingent of the audience who've been around as long as we have, since the 1980s, who know exactly what you mean about the bloody McCrag Blue, Adam.
I've got 3 bloody pots of that, and 3 bloody pots of Nurgle, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Death Guard Green, yeah.
That's the one. Good lord.
I must have, I may even have pots of Ultramarine Blue, which is the equivalent from back in the day. I bet I've still got them around somewhere.
Yeah. Great if you love Ultramarines.
Yeah.
They're lame.
No. Or just blue in general.
Yeah. But that's the problem. Whenever I think blue, I think Ultramarines, and I get put off.
I like the idea of you walking through home base or something, you're blue, and it just sends you off into a foaming rage.
Ultramarines.
Yeah. But you'll notice the rage is red and not blue.
Oh god, can you imagine that? You get angry and you don't see red, you start seeing blue.
Blue instead.
And it's just me sitting there in a pot of paint going, did I ever tell you my favourite colour is blue?
I was going to say, why do you think Sam Neill was fucking screaming at that point? He was sick of McCrag Blue.
Yeah. Someone had spilt McCrag Blue all over the film, so.
Are you saying that 22 years before the Conquest came out, Sam Neill had a subscription to Conquest and he was sick of McCrag Blue?
Yes.
I'm just saying he was sick of Ultramarines. Hated him.
Oh, man.
Well, that's the best way, I think, to bow out of this episode.
Yeah.
We called Smurfs for a reason, and it wasn't for love.
Upsetting all of the Ultramarines players out there. Oh, man.
Sweet Jesus, this has been a chaotic episode.
It's been a fun one.
Yeah, so...
very blue themed. Have you noticed? Thousand Suns, kind of blue. Ultramarines, blue.
Mm-hmm.
Andy's Rage, blue.
Blue.
I think so, the idea, at some point Andy's going to cut himself and just blue blood will start dripping out, and you're like, what? No.
Well, that's because I'm not human, so you know.
Just rage. 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 And then the more blue you see, the angrier you get. You'd be like a blue Hulk.
Yeah. I'm sure has there been one at some point? I'm sure there has been a blue Hulk.
Oh, well, yeah, A-Bomb. A-Bomb technically was. He was Rick Jones.
Right, Okie Cokes.
He got gammed up.
Camped. He got blued right up. So I think on that note then we're going to back out of here slowly and surely with our eyes fixed on each other, making sure that there are no sudden movements, but before we fly ourselves out of the door in the vain hope of safety being without, Andy, where can people find your blue self? Why did you scream at me?
I mean, it's just a natural reaction, I find. You tell me that's the wrong reaction?
You know what I've just realised? I'm just looking at Audacity and the waveform is blue.
Oh, yeah, of course.
As is the Skype symbol.
Yeah. Blue's primary colour, you know.
Yeah,
people like it.
Right next to it, I've got the Internet Explorer symbol, and that's also blue.
Mm-hmm. The mug I have here that had my coffee in is blue.
You know what my house colour is? Blue. You know what a window is? Gruff got it.
Oh, gold.
Hell yeah. Yeah. You can find me on Twitter, CCTFW. YouTube is Cobra Commander TFW. You can find me on Twitch, CCTFW, at 11 o'clock in the evening UK time, playing video games. If you want to swing on by and have a cool on down, that'd be fun. Yeah. And you can find me doing the Moonbase 2 podcast with my buddy Mikey, where we talk about Transformers and whatnot each and every week, which is on YouTube. And you know, just throw it into Google. You'll probably find Moonbase 2. Easy enough. Although
I did once find that there was another podcast called Moonbase 2 that did 2 episodes.
I know. I was disgusted. Mm-hmm. I think it was a science one as well, wasn't it? I was like, lame. Get out of here, nerds. We're talking about robots, you losers.
1980s toy plastic robots, you losers.
Exactly. Talk about bloody space.
I thought that was quite funny when I found that. This is the wrong Moonbase 2 that I'm trying to add.
I like the idea that there's that mistake's been happening many times over with my podcast, and people are like, "Oh, I came for the science, and I left because I didn't like Transformers."
I came for the science and stayed for the Irish.
But Mikey, that's unbelievable.
I came for the Irish and stayed for the science. George, where can people find you if they were so hoping that by doing so they would be safe from your ravenous gaze?
They wouldn't be where they can find me, I'm afraid. You can find my published fiction. There are links over at strangeplaygrounds.com. Recently just had a new short story collection published, Born in Blood Volume 2, which you can find at perpetualmotionmachinepublications.com and on Amazon. Links to all published work over at strangeplaygrounds.com. And you can also find me at Exaggerated Elegy, where I do all sorts of things, little podcasts, let's plays, discussions about this and that. Just finished playing Resident Evil 8, which I enjoyed a great deal, got to say. And you can come and chat to me over on Twitter, if you like, at Enigmatic Elegy.
Excellent stuff. As for myself, you can find us on the Fluffenhammer on YouTube. You can find us on the Fluffenhammer on Facebook. You can find us at the Fluffenhammer on Discord. Also on Twitter and Instagram. You may have noticed that the YouTube uploads have slowed down at the moment. The reason for that is very simple. Any spare time I have is being thrown towards trying to make money at the moment because things are very tight. I hopefully will get back to it at some point, but as I say, it's very much at the point I have to focus on where to get cash flow coming from. Speaking of which, if you would like to join us on Patreon, we do have a Fluffenhammer Patreon, patreon.com/Fluffenhammer. Come and join us. There is an absolute ton of stuff in the back catalogue there. I mean, there is like a lot of stuff in that back catalogue. There is a ridiculous amount of stuff.
Like technically off-air conversations about all sorts of stuff.
Off-air conversations. There's an entire Art of Noise show on there that I re-edited and stuck up.
Are the special episodes still up there?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, wow. Those were so much fun. I love them. We've got to do a few more of them when we get time.
I would love to do more of those type of things. I think at the moment, kind of need to get the Patreon up a couple of notches before we can start doing stuff with it. Because it's and that's the problem at the moment. It is I have to be very mercenary and have to go, what's going to make me money? That's what I need to focus on. If something's not making money, I can't focus on it. Unfortunately. So speaking of which as well, I have been selling art. And if you want to have a look at adnicol.weebly.com, there is art for sale. I'm also taking commissions. I'm currently turning somebody into a Dark Lord. So that's an interesting commission. And once I've done that, I've got to turn the entire family into a load of night elves from World of Warcraft.
You do mean art-wise, right? Drawing them, right?
I was going to say.
Okay,
so all that. If you're interested, you can go and buy art prints. You can, you can commission me to turn your family into a fictional race of purple-skinned elves.
Magic powers.
How are you fancy? Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Also, when time allows, I am working on a book. It's a tabletop skirmish game. I've been working on it all the way through lockdown, and I'm now happy enough with it to try and actually turn it into something. So hopefully that's going to be starting to make an appearance very soon. Just keep your eyes open. Of course, you can find us at thefluffenhammer.com, where I am still trying to move all of the old articles to the new site.
Ah, yes, the Herculean or Sisyphean task.
It is, because at the moment I only maybe get half an hour to an hour a week
Right.
to get that done, so that's very slow going. So there is plenty of stuff being moved over, so yeah, hopefully you can check on that daily and find like 5 or 6 new articles that you've never read before. Ding! With all that being said, I think it's time for me to go to bed because I'm very tired. Thank you very much, Andy.
Ah!
Going slightly skeletal there.
Welcome to my podcast. Why I hate Harry Potter.
Oh my god.
If Grumpy Skeletor did a podcast, I would listen.
Merry Christmas to everyone except He-Man, because he's a colossal twat. I've completely derailed myself there, so I'll just thank Andy again. Praise Andy.
Yay.
Praise Brick. Thanks, George.
My pleasure, as always. Thanks for listening, guys.
And thank you all to the guys at home. We shall see you next time. This has been a very, very weird and chaotic episode. You guys take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, that was fun.
I'm always searching for the answers to the questions in my mind. Hope I made the right decisions, and that inner peace I'll find. But there's one thing I won't change, it's the way I feel inside. I need you here for just one